I had learned how to unlock a woman, but I didn't learn how to protect it. I was really great at unlocking though, like really good. And I knew I was.
Can you illustrate to me what unlocking means?
Disarming, connecting to them, their fears and their traumas and all these things, and them connecting to mine, but me not having a real care or regard for it. It's like, I just wanted what I wanted. I wanted to feel something, whether it be intimacy, company, whatever, but I was never going to take it further than that.
Rather than covering off on multiple topics, I would love for you to step into your intimacy expertise and pick one particular thing that you feel really confident teaching other people about.
A big topic for me would be not having my mother involved in my life as closely as I needed growing up.
You believe it's magic.
And how that affected the way I look at women and deal with women in my life.
Why you looking at me like it's
So
magic?
my mother's heroin addiction and her not being around and having to face that with her, going through a lot of things, affected the way I was intimate with women, affected the way I spoke to women, affected, my loyalty to women in a lot of ways. I talk about the pros and cons of it and how I came out on how I'm coming out on the other side of it. So let's stay on that topic.
I think it's a wonderful topic. Beautiful. Okay, thank you for your time for this. That's perfect, and I'll see you soon.
This episode of Lovers is presented by Bumble. Date your way on Bumble.
Yeah.
Mario.
That's my real name. That's
Yeah?
my real name. Yes. Yep.
Have you always? You know what's so great about
I
your
mean,
name,
some
too?
people call me Rio, like people that, close to me, but
I
yeah.
was, looking up your relationship status, so I was like, oh, Mario relationship status, and it was telling me
Did you
about
find it easily?
Princess Peach.
Princess Peach.
That's Mario.
Oh, of course. Okay. Like, I thought you meant like I nicknamed my girlfriend Princess Peach or something like that.
Yeah,
Nah, I never had. That's a good idea though.
right, yeah.
She gotta earn that title.
Yeah, she does. That's one special day.
One special
that's
day.
When you know it's real.
Right.
I had to see the peach chain on
It's a
her.
peach shade, right? Princess Peach. PP. Being a sexologist, do you consider yourself a sexologist?
I am a sexologist.
Because you study sexology.
I'm certified as a sexologist.
Okay. Does that put more pressure on you in the bedroom?
I feel you might feel the same pressure as an R&B singer. That there's a lot of pressure on you to be incredible, to be mind-blowing in the bedroom. I actually don't feel that pressure.
Nice.
Because I think that people who say that they're great in bed are probably the least likely to be good in bed. Because they look at it like a performance.
I agree with you. That's happened to me before with women. And they're like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna blow you, You was capping. You was just talking crazy. Nothing that you said you was about to do just happened. But it's not fair. I'm also very hard to please, because I think that the part of it for me, sex is very mental. And one would say, oh, it's mental for everybody. It's a very mental thing. But I think it becomes more mental when you become more in tune with yourself and you become more in tune with what you like and the different dimensions of being human. It becomes more mental for you because you're not just focused on the physical part. It starts before we even get physical. It starts at, how you doing today? Thanks for coming on this date, whatever. It starts there. It starts at hello sometimes.
That really hit me because I've been talking about this. I did a class on this recently, actually,
Yeah.
how what good sex is to me is just authentic. But that is not an easy thing to achieve because I feel like in its best form, sex is the only place you can bring all of yourself. Your fears, your traumas, things that you think about that you think make you a bad person, the stresses that you have, the fantasies that you have.
So you just dropping all your
side.
everything on somebody. You just like, here's everything.
Everything, yeah.
I mean, but now you're talking on a whole other level. Because you have to be comfortable and very authentic with that person before you even get to the act of the physical part, in order for it to be that, I feel, in order for it to be everything you just said. But I do think that I've had moments of telling my partner, look, I like to be more aggressive like this, or I like these things. You might think this is crazy, but this is what turns me on. I've had a lot of experiences where it wasn't intentional, and it was just, a cycle of I just want to feel something right now, but there's no intention behind it. There's no awareness behind it, which takes it actually is not as great when there's no awareness and no real connection.
Well, that's why you need, I think when you're having sex that's not intentional, that's based on a set list, that's when you need new
Based on
partners
the set
all the
list.
time.
Facts.
Because you're like, oh, I've already done this
Yeah.
exact routine with somebody else. But if you're genuinely bringing your full self and you're bringing the changes that you've had as a man, it's going
Yeah.
to be different every time.
Yeah.
And that kind of safety is difficult to achieve with someone you just met.
That's how deep I think about it on. So for me, intimacy, it starts with deciding if the person you're being intimate with is a reflection of what you want to see more of in the world, or what you're trying to, manifest, or how you're trying to. Is she a reflection of my own feminine? In a way, right? Is she going to bring healing to my feminine by me helping to heal her through my own decisions and do what I'm doing in life? Can I heal her? All these different things. I don't know. I'm at that place in my life where I think about these things now.
That's beautiful. Can you tell me more about your feminine?
Oh, wow. Well, the first thing I would say is that I've just, in the past, I would say 3 to 4 years, learned how to protect my feminine and protect and be honest and vulnerable with my own feminine, in the sense that I know that there were a lot of times in my life where I didn't protect my feminine, where I felt like it was weakness, and I felt like there wasn't space for it in my life because I needed to be protective and hard and disassociated from the things that made me feel safe. And more so just worry about, providing, making money, being on the road, hustling, like getting to the bag, versus, take a break, take care of your mental health, take care of your, the things that's provided for you, take care of your voice, get rest, take some time away. Like, I've been spiritual for a long time. I've been a mystic for 13 years, but actually practicing and really putting the things I know. Sometimes the ego, the spiritual ego, it's like, long as you know, like, that's enough. Like, no, you have to then you have to learn from the responses that you're not getting. It's like, you got to learn that when you do something from your knowledge, if you're applying it the right place, then that becomes wisdom, right? And then you kind of create this, my own personal Bible.
That was really good. When you're doing something that you know and you apply it in the right place, it becomes wisdom.
Yes, for sure.
Chewing on that right now.
Fire.
Mm-hmm.
Fire.
So I can remember that.
Fire. I mean, that's the first time I ever said it like that, honestly.
Saying and owning the feminine felt shocking to me and felt very wise to me. I actually encourage people to do away with the terms masculine and feminine because majority of men don't access that, or they don't. Because to your point, all the things that you ascribe to it, right? The need to be nurtured, the need to be protected, the need for rest, the need to prioritize your mental health. Yeah. Everybody can get on board with that. But once you put the word feminine in front of it, they're like, oh, I don't want that. Or I don't feel like that's a welcoming space for me. So I was like, that's really beautiful that you feel welcomed there.
Yeah, I mean, it took me a while to be comfortable saying it that way. But I just have to look at nature and it tells me the truth. I just think we have to respect each other's existence.
When you're sexual, do you get to bring your feminine to that? Does she feel like she's allowed in the room? Is she a she? Do you gender?
Like mine?
Yeah.
Sometimes, and sometimes no. Just going off of like, depends on the day I'm having. It depends on how much rest I got. It depends on, if I'm allowing the things outside of me to trigger me and make me disassociated with that part of myself, and it's just a physical thing at that moment. But I can say that my woman feels the difference, for sure. She knows very much so when I'm in it and connected and when I'm not. And we're honest about that.
Do you think the feminine is integral to that connection?
In a lot of ways, yes, because I feel like the woman that you're with or the partner that you're with desires, if they love you, desires that connection from you. And I feel like it's very important for you to let your guard down as a man and know that being vulnerable in the bedroom is not a weakness. It's actually a strength when it comes to dealing with somebody that you love. Now, if you just slinging and swinging and just having fun, it's different. You don't want to be open with everybody if that's the life you live in.
But the beauty of knowing that you could actually do both, that you can bring that aggression and it can be vulnerable at the same time.
1000%. It actually is vulnerable. I think it is very vulnerable to be yourself unapologetically, without feeling like, oh damn, she gonna judge me because I, choked her too hard or said some crazy shit. Like, nah, just, she might like it. Hey fellas, you'd be surprised. She might like the shit, man. Do it. Just do it. I would say my mid-20s is when I really started to experience the different levels of intimacy and sex that separated themselves from each other. I grew up fast. Like I grew up in a household where I was seeing sex at 8 years old. You feel me? I was outside and had my own schedule when I was 10 years old. So to me, it wasn't.
Sorry that happened to you.
But don't be sorry though.
I am though. I feel like
I hate pity.
It's not pity. It's like an
like
acknowledgement of your inner child, and
okay.
But that was shitty.
I feel like people have worse lives than I did.
For
I
sure.
don't feel like it was bad. I feel like it was necessary. If I hadn't experienced the things I experienced early on, if I wasn't as exposed to sex, drugs, and rock and roll at 10, 12, 11, I would have gotten the industry possibly and thought all this would have been new to me. I might have crashed out early because of everything I was going through. But because of that, I didn't. And I'm still here today. So, again, God chose to give me these experiences and these trials and tribulations so that I could be here and be present and not do something wild when I'm 18 years old, being fast and soaking up the lifestyle, and now I'm on the news for the wrong reasons or whatever. So I look at all of the silver lining because it's really important. Like I am, but I appreciate you acknowledging
I'll say
that it was.
Yeah, I feel empathy and sadness for your inner child, and I feel awe of you as a man for who you are and who you sit today.
Yeah.
So I know that those two things were, that go together.
I don't know what the other side of it looks like. I don't know what normalcy is growing up in America anymore. What is it? What is normal anymore? I don't know. I think that the hard part of it was not kind of like my mother was absent in a lot of my life, even though she was a very important part of getting me started in music, my passion. There was parts of it she wasn't there. So that intimacy and our connection wasn't as strong as I would have liked it to be growing up. So I think that that's why I started early with women, and like I lost my virginity early and kind of, I surfed those waves a lot when I was younger in search of that intimacy that I didn't have with her, right? So I didn't partnership was never a goal of mine. Marriage was never a goal of mine. It was just like, I just love women.
Yes.
I don't need to be with one woman, right? But my perspective has since changed.
Was your perspective that you didn't need a woman for that reason because you didn't have your mom in that way and you were fine without it?
Looking back on it now, for sure. Looking back on it now. But then I just thought it was normal. And obviously, I had the whole ocean at my discretion. So, yeah, I was just having fun.
I'm glad this is what we talking about. So I'm glad that you actually brought us here because I actually saw a clip recently. Do you know Dr. Bryant?
I've heard of him.
Yeah, she recently had like the full Cam Newton.
Oh, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
yes.
So she was talking about this recently, that she was like, she believes a lot of black men have hatred towards black women because they have unresolved hatred towards their mother and how that shows up in intimacy.
Jesus. That's where we're going?
Well,
Jeez.
we're going where you want to go with that, but when you were talking to me about not being able to really be intimate until you reconciled the feelings you had with your mom.
Yeah.
And on the other side of that, where you're at now, how you got there and what that taught you. I'm just curious to go on that journey with you.
Yeah. Years. Took a lot of years and a lot of failed relationships. Whether it be friendships, platonic relationships, long-term, short-term, of me not knowing or understanding the emotion of a woman, not understanding how my decisions was causing them to hate me because I was disappointing them all the time. Empty promises. I had learned how to unlock a woman, but I didn't learn how to protect it. I was really great at unlocking though, like really good. And I knew I was.
Can you illustrate to me what unlocking means?
Disarming, connecting to them, their fears and their traumas and all these things, and them connecting to mine, but me not having a real care or regard for it. It's like, I just wanted what I wanted. I wanted to feel something, whether it be intimacy, company, whatever, but I was never going to take it further than that.
If you were to actually walk me through, because I'm actually very fascinated by that.
Yeah.
By the skill of unlocking somebody.
Yeah.
Like,
Damn, I can't give you too much.
why?
Nah, I'm just playing. It's never too
It's
much.
not even
There's always more.
It's not even a part of your repertoire.
No, it's
anymore.
not. It's not. But it is, but in a different way. And I can get to that. But I don't mind. I think that this is a really important conversation. But what's your question again?
How do you? Like,
How do you?
Take me through the steps of.
Every woman is different. Every person is different. I think that obviously there has to be interest there first. There is power in mystery. I think that a lot of women have a natural, even if they're not healed themselves, sometimes they have a natural desire to heal and a natural desire to also understand, figure out. And so when you're a man who understands that and understands how to make a woman feel comfortable, make a woman feel safe, the mystery of you and the things you don't say and the things you do, like, it's like, I can't explain exactly how it works because everyone's different, but I feel like that mystery is what drives them in. And, you know, when you start to get intimate, when it comes to touching and having sex with each other, and the spiritual side of it, opening them up to things that they're not comfortable with in terms of their spirituality, maybe because it's different from what that's another way. You know, these things unlock women, I feel like, in a very unique way. And it wasn't that I didn't have intentions of getting to know them but it was just like, I just wanted to, I knew the energy of them feeling safe was much more powerful than just the one night stand. And that's what I wanted.
Even if your intention was just the one night stand.
Yes. And I was really, yeah, it was a real thing for me. It was a real thing for me.
This episode is sponsored by Bumble. Date your way and date now on Bumble. All right, so I'm actually working on next week's episode right now, and here's a little known fact. Bumble is essentially our matchmaker. They're the reason why we're able to get such incredible guests on the podcast, which makes sense because they are the best in the biz. And that is why I refer everybody who I care about to the best. Hence why I got Yancy on Bumble. Say what's up.
Hi.
So you're on Bumble, but did you know that you can actually filter potential matches by intentions and interests? You like that, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, what's your interest? What's your intentions?
Intentions is nothing serious. And I want a climbing buddy. Like someone I can climb with.
So you're looking for a casual climb partner.
Yes.
I love that for you.
Amazing.
Yes, date your way and date now on Bumble.
I'll go on break now.
After work. Date now on Bumble after work.
Break. I'll be back.
But now,
Why do you think that stemmed?
but it wasn't because I wanted to be that way. I just think that I was trying to protect myself. The moment I felt like, damn, she's open now. Now I have to open. I'm out of here. Because I wasn't comfortable with that. I wasn't ready for that. I didn't even know how to do it. But I also didn't want them to see my demons. I didn't want them to see the things about me that wasn't perfect or my imperfections. So being a magician was my thing. I'm a writer and a creative, so playing in their mind and imagination, that's what everybody who makes a lot of money in entertainment does. We play with imagination, right? You got these, we play with ideas. Once we know what someone wants, we give them what they want in their mind, even if it's not happening. You can blind them with pleasure. There's so many different things. And these are things that aren't, I'm not proud of.
Yeah.
But it was definitely something that I practiced a lot. And when you do it enough, you get good at it. I mean, relatively.
That's why you said that women hated you, because they would experience this
Yes.
unlocking.
Yes.
And then
And over the years, you kind of build this own, you feel guilty. And that guilt does, if you care, the guilt does, and as you mature spiritually, you start to feel like, and you have to forgive yourself for it and, just find a way to give back by treating your current partner with as much respect and love as you can, and yourself, your own feminine. Going back to that.
I think the guilt is actually pretty powerful too. I read this book once. It was an old book from like the 60s that was talking about men who have mother wounds, and they were saying that there is no guilt, that there is almost like there's a deserving, like the feminine deserves this pain, they deserves this.
Ooh, I think in those moments, yeah, for sure. In those moments, I could see a woman just bawling in front of me and not feel anything. And honestly, you know, there's pleasure that came with once she says, I'm not doing this again. It's done with it. Reeling her back in. There was a pleasure that came with it. It was like this, like, it was even more powerful every time after time that it happened. And yeah, I'm guilty of that in the past, for sure. And it definitely comes from feminine wounds. Yeah, for sure.
And now that you can look at it with a different lens, like, what's the real why? Because it seems just Thanos evil.
The shift for me, I think, was like losing my mom and burying her in 2017. Changed a lot about my perspective, and like, there's a song I have on my album called I'm Sorry. And the song can be related to anything, basically saying I'm sorry that I will never get a chance to tell you I'm sorry. And you know, it really takes me to that space, and remembering like burying my mom, and that moment where I realized that I was never really going to have a moment again to, like, as a man now, tell her all the things that hurt me and all of the reasons, and to ask her, how do I mend this with you? How do we mend this so that I can be healthy, so that I can feel like and understand what it's like to have a mother's love and co-sign in life as a man now. And I never will be able to do that. Spiritually I can, of course, but in the actual real life, I will never be able to do that. And also, I'm sorry to all the women that I hurt along the way that really loved me, and that maybe we weren't meant to be together forever, but in those moments, not really being able to appreciate why we were in each other's lives. Because we all in each other's lives for a reason, especially in relationships, and you have those types of connections with people throughout your lithink it may not be forever, but you at least want it to be pleasant, you at least want it to be meaningful. And a lot of times we don't get to that because we break up and it ends in turmoil. Sometimes it's easier when you're not healed to end in turmoil, because now we have an excuse to leave.
Yeah.
Right? Versus working through it and then both being like, you know what, this is not working for us, but I still love you. That's a really hard thing to do. That's hard. And a lot of relationships end in turmoil because it's easier to just walk away like that and to not face what you did to help get to this point as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think a lot of healing for me came with my husband, because he was the first person I regarded as like white snow.
Yeah.
Where in most other relationships, like, you get into it with somebody, and then the snow gets so muddy that you can't tell where you stepped, where you messed up.
Yeah,
that's
I
your
never heard
blood
it
or
that
somebody
way
else's
before.
blood. But
that's crazy.
when the other
White
person
snow.
isn't responsive, it's only your footsteps, it's only your shit that you end up seeing reflected back to you.
That's the hardest relationship to get in, when you being able to be vulnerable enough to admit when you're wrong. Accountability is vulnerability, right? And I feel like that's a lot of why, you know, relationships get torn apart. And it's easier for it to leave when the turmoil, because now you have the excuse, it didn't work out because of this, instead of taking accountability. And so then you have marriages breaking up over not taking accountability. That's why, like, marriage is a scary thing. Like, I just started thinking about it, but I'm like, I don't think I would ever get married, but I would be with one person for the rest of my life, for sure.
Tomato, tomato.
Yeah. You said what?
Tomato, tomato.
Yeah.
Same thing. But I understand what you're saying.
No, it's not the same thing.
Well,
how can you say that marriage?
You're going to take me on a different track right now. I'm sticking with the train that we're on, which is a very good train.
Okay.
We'll come back to this one if we have time.
Whatever.
But I loved the word about accountability.
She said, Go ahead.
Because in order for you to have accountability, there has to be visibility. You have to be able to see what the problem is, what the root is.
Yeah.
And on the unhealed wounds from your mom part, I don't think a lot of men are able to, like, see that and look at it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of men who have complicated relationships with their mom. I don't know a lot of them who, like, can understand how that impacts them. In the same way that I know a lot of women who have complicated relationships with their dad,
right,
who know for a fact that there's some tie-ins. So how did you get, like, visibility on, like, oh, like, this is what's going on?
Every situation is different. Mine was very direct, you know. You know, I watched my mom struggle with, first of all, she was an incredible mom. Just like her in her natural state. Like, I saw a picture of her yesterday that my cousin's mom sent me. And I looked at it for like 10 minutes. I'm just like, yo, she was such a beautiful, like, I'm gonna send you this picture so you can put it up on the screen, because she was just a queen, like literally. And you know, she just went through things in life that influenced her to make decisions that ultimately became addiction. So I watched her very closely struggle with addiction. So it wasn't just like, oh, my mom's controlling. Oh, my mom, you know, didn't show up to my graduation. Or, oh, my mom didn't, not to say those things are any less whatever, but that's a different type of fight. And anybody who's had a parent or a loved one who struggled with addiction knows, like, that fight is like, you gotta be in it. You in the ring. It's not like you watch from outside the ring, like, throw a jab, throw a punch. Like, nah, you like in the corner, like, I might have to jump in and shit. Like, you feel me? So it's a different type of thing. And I feel like, obviously, your parent, your dad or your mom kind of shows you they're your first love, right? And so the absence of like that organic connection is what, that's the information you miss to be able to apply it to your life when it comes to dating or when it comes to being comfortable with them and feeling like, okay, this woman's not here to hurt me. Even if, you know, even if we have an argument, she's not here to hurt, she's not my enemy. You know, even if we go through things, that don't mean I can't trust her in life in general. So those are I didn't have that information. I didn't have those tools. And so what comes out of that is like just one person make one mistake or say something to you wrong way, you like, oh yeah, you my enemy, but I'm still gonna fuck you tonight. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, just healing through those things and maturing enough to understand like every person's not out, every woman's not out to, you know, to hurt you or to backstab you or to be malicious or to take your kindness for weakness. And I think that's a big one. That the idea of like taking your kindness for weakness, or if I do this for you, you're gonna disappear. You're gonna just leave, right? Neglect. So all of those things like are, I think, like demons in the room that like whisper over your shoulder, like, yo, just don't do too much. Don't get too connected. Don't fall in love too hard. They might take your heart and run. They might hurt you. They might backstab, you know, which were just in my imagination. But it comes from trauma. It comes from the neglect part of it. And I learned that through different relationships. Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Which part?
The learning. How did you learn? How did you know? How did you recognize?
Yeah, just realizing when I was repeating the same cycles over and over and hearing the same things over and over, you know, from women, like, you know, just being in the act, being good at the act of being intimate, but not truly being connected. You know, telling the truth, but not truly communicating. Having backup women, you know what I'm saying? Having other women that were friends of mine that were very close, closer than they should have been. But because I'm like, just in case this don't work, let me just have this, you know. All those things.
Which is interesting because on one hand, you're like, I don't need a partner, I don't need a woman in that way, but I can't be without a woman, period.
Exactly. And I feel like when your own feminine is healed, you don't necessarily prey on women like that. You don't need a woman out of desperity. It's more like companionship and partnership and a muse, you know, someone that inspires you, a woman that, you know. So I think that's the thin line, is like knowing why your partner's in your life and knowing how you guys are using each other in a healthy way to grow, to experience love, and to experience how you exist in the world. Your partner's on the front line. Yeah, it's just, it becomes more of a job to hide yourself when you're in a relationship where you don't feel safe, or your trauma is on the front line with you versus your partner. It becomes more of a job and draining than it is expansive and growth there. You know, then it takes you longer to realize that's not the person anyway. So now you just spent 2 years of your life with the wrong person. It's a lot. It's a lot that goes into not being aware of your trauma.
It's a good like aha for me to like reflect on, because I was talking to somebody recently who's single, who like lives with the like inherent feeling that men are bad, right?
Wow.
Where So like they go on dates with that feeling in the heart that they're inherently bad. And I was thinking about that because I was like, I guess the benefit that I've had is I had a great dad.
Amazing.
And I grew up running tracks. That was a co-ed sport, so I had lots of male friends. So I always knew men were inherently good, but my experiences with them could be negative. So from your standpoint of like this wound with your mom of following you around because underneath it all, you're waiting for them to show that they're not good.
Right. Facts. That's true. I definitely can see that. But I also think I was so selfish and so self-centered in that I didn't care if they were good or not. But if they made me feel good, that was good enough. But again, it goes back to, in some cases, it could have just been physical, but I wanted more. I wanted the emotional connection. I wanted to feel her give more to me. That's what made it really bad. Because now you're not giving the person a choice. And you're just like feeding off of the energy. It's like, and you're not giving anything back beyond the physical. That's when it got crazy. But
and then to your point, there's only so much you can get.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. You can't even reap the benefits of the connection. But I mean, when you do expect in your 20s, and I guess this is a question for you, in your 20s, do you expect to be able to really experience the fullness of a partnership in your 20s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything age appropriate. I mean, like I said, like I could be 5 years old experiencing a positive sex life, age appropriately. You know what I mean? Like, from is that a bad soundbite?
I just think I gotta hear you finish it.
But like I remember getting in a lot of trouble for like playing house. You know,
Okay.
I got in a lot of trouble for that. But, like that was a
I just remember being young and like trying to sneak and like look like, you know, looking at girl, like, you know what I'm saying? In school, being young, you like looking at girls a different way when you exposed to it.
Yeah.
But other kids don't even think about that. But you exposed to it, so I get it. It just made me laugh. That's all.
You know what, too? Actually, I took a course that was like age by age, what's normal sexual behavior. And that was so healing for me because all these things I thought were like wrong with me or deviant were like actually normal development. Like, so it's like embracing the humanness of it.
Yeah.
So I just think in general, like sex is intimacy is magic, your body is magic, connection is magic.
With a K, magic with a K, not a C. Magic, for sure.
Okay. Is there a reason? Is there an album tie in there that I'm missing?
No, it's just reality.
It's
it's
like,
just
is there a song?
the magic is not like a magician, like illusion magic, but like magic as in using the elements and energy and like magic, actually making magic out of real sources.
Yeah. Like it's a real. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah,
it's a hard
two
thing.
different things. Yeah.
I just think that like you can have amazing intimacy in your 20s. You can have amazing age-appropriate intimacy in your teens. We're not given the tools to facilitate that.
Yeah.
So most of us have to go backwards to go forwards.
I also think living in America, there's like this taboo with the conversation around sex, but at the same time, it's also thrown in your face. It's a big contradiction. You know, in this country, everything is like, you know, contradictory. So you have to relearn and teach yourself and teach your kids and your family how to like look at it in a way where it's respected in a different way.
And that's, I mean, your story is so unrelatable because you experience what most people don't, that level of fame and access at such a young age.
Facts.
While at the same time, it's extremely relatable. Because a lot of people are just, they see it in a pornographic way or just like a very, I don't know, cheapened way. And then they imitate that and then realize years later.
Imitation.
That, oh, this is not
It's
actually.
not the real thing.
Right. But some don't.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about that universal component of it because a lot of people are connecting with what you're saying. My audience is majority women, so I want to ask this question for them.
I love that.
Because they're seeing this pattern show up in the men in their life, and they want to give them the visibility and tell them, like, hey, have you ever looked at this before? Can somebody do that for you? Is that a path you have to choose for yourself?
It's a great question. Every man is different. I think it's really about understanding. I think that you don't have to start there directly. Start in ways where you're exploring your partner's inner child. How safe are they talking about their inner child? How safe are they talking about, do they feel talking about their upbringing? What's their relationship like with their mom, their dad? All these different things can kind of lead you down the rabbit hole to get into that space where they feel, because some people don't feel comfortable. Some men are not gonna feel comfortable just opening up like that. Just, even if they take care of everything, they men, they work out, they, whatever you consider to be, you know, masculine, you gotta kind of ease into understanding the parts of your partner where they don't naturally show you. So I think exploring that as a woman with your partner is important. Asking those questions about family and, you know, exploring them mentally more so than just physical. So I think, especially in today's age, a lot of times we hustling so hard that sometimes women feel like if I just take care of him physically, everything's good. Like, nah, there's so much more that's going on here that women may not think about. So I think really it's about exploring your man's mind and not judging how he responds to your question or dealing with it. Like, not getting defensive or feel like, oh, like, explore his mind. You know, explore, you know, his triggers. Explore those things. Don't play on them, explore them. Understand why. I think that's a great start, you know? And then it will lead you, you'd be surprised. Like, he might even look at you different, like, damn, like, it may cause him to explore you more. Mm-hmm. And offer those things before he has to ask sometimes. For some men, they need a little more help with emotional connection. Offer information to him. And if it makes him feel uncomfortable, pay attention to why. Because that may be your answer right there. And I think it's important for us to be real about that too. Because I don't date certain types of women because I know that I can't handle certain types of energies around me. That's going to trigger.
Nothing personal about it.
Nothing personal. It's just that I know because of my lack in that area, if I love you and you trigger me on this level, because that's just in you, it could change the trajectory of our relationship and my life. So I'm not going to put myself in that position.
I think that's a very powerful way of answering the question I asked, because of like, how do you know when you can't move somebody in that way to heal in order to open up? And I love what you said too, because you can unlock somebody, but you didn't know how to protect them. So if you didn't know how to protect yourself, why would you have the blueprint for another human being?
Exactly. It starts with you. You got to do it for yourself first.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm no expert. I'm just.
You're doing pretty good.
I don't know.
Well, on that note,
figuring
to
it
take
out.
things full circle, back to the question you asked me at the top about being expert in the bedroom as a sexologist.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of expertise in being an R&B singer.
Yeah.
And when people, first of all, glad you came.
Thank you. Thank you.
But when people are taking in the album,
Yeah.
what particular lessons do you want them to learn?
With the music? That creativity, first, that creativity is very intimate. And you can learn a lot about yourself if you find some type of creative medium. But I think this album is for both men and women who want to gain more confidence when it comes to emotional intelligence and being expressive, and that there's a certain type of confidence that comes with vulnerability and authenticity and accountability. I think that's what I want people to take away, you know, from music on this album. And also for women that feel neglected in the bedroom, Glad You Came is for you. First and foremost, that song is for you. But, you know, for women that feel neglected in the bedroom, you know, and for men who may not have the confidence to, like, say, you know what, I really haven't been paying as close attention to my women as I should this month or this week or whatever. This album going to inspire you to go back and do your research and tap back into that space where she's feeling like, all right, babe, I don't care if you stay out to 2 a.m. I trust you. You know, I feel like you giving me all of you. You know, I ain't going to bother you this week. Go get your coins. Go do what you got to do, you know. Yeah, just a reminder of why you love R&B. R&B is here I feel like as kind of like a tempo setter, a mood setter, but also to massage the intimacy space, whether you're single or in a relationship, and to inspire you to just get better with, you know, your the way you deal with somebody you love, the way you deal with the opposite sex, the way you deal with your conversation with a woman, the whole nine, everything.
I want to give you a flower second to say the unique gift that you're giving, because I mean, so much of what inspires men to open up is the idea of getting better at sex, right? If you give that as like, this is the reward at the end of it. And so this album, even the Sorry song, like that's actually how you get better at sex.
Wow.
So it's the whole body that you're giving the tools for people to really get to. We're calling it sex as like the shiny door, but on the other side of that is just freedom and humanity,
Wow.
and genuine connections.
It's all connected, right?
Yeah.
It's when you put it like that, and I believe it's true. Nature example. Nature's having sex all day, every day. It's all connected for sure, and I feel like there's a very organic, beautiful side when we talk about intimacy and sex, and then there's the other side of it that's just like consumptive and selfish and, you know, destructive when the sexual energy isn't directed in the right direction. And not only do we, as humans, I mean, as everyday people who are working towards greatness, can benefit or be affected in a negative way by it, but also in business and corporations, they play towards sex all the time. It's probably the top 2 selling forms of, you know, promotion or whatever you want to call it, entertainment in the world, right? So if it's that powerful in that sense, then how powerful is it personally? You know what I'm saying? That it makes the world go round. And so when you start to study, you know, I've studied a little bit about everything, and I think I just take all of those libraries and just put it inside of me, and then I move through life with that type of perspective, and I see how it can work for you if you learn how to balance it and learn what lights to turn on in each room and off at your will.
Oh wow, we went there.
For a second, if you want to, I don't know. It's up to you. It's your show.
Wow.
You let me know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very special.
Fire.
Are you having the best sex of your life right now?
In a lot of ways, yeah, for sure. 1,000%. 1,000%.
I see it in your skin.
You see it in my skin?
I see it in your skin. I'm
Okay,
very happy.
I mean, if one would see it, it would be you, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's true.
Okay.
Yeah, this is actually my superpower.
Wow.
Thanks for sharing your gifts. That was great.
Anytime.
Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you, Mario, for a very insightful and reflective conversation. It was so reflective that I wanted to talk about it with others, and who better than my Lovers community? The Lovers community is a first-name basis space where members get to talk about intimacy in a genuinely intimate setting. They're the first to hear every episode, and of course, my go-tos for gaining feedback and insight. Up next, I'm sharing the highlights of what was shared. And if you're interested in learning more, come over to loversbyshan.com. Okay. Well, you just finished listening to the Mario Mother Wounds episode, and I am dying to know. Leave all your flattery for the end, because I do want it. If you're like, it looked really great, we worked our ass off, and that's the new direction of the podcast is gonna like look and feel like that. So we feel really, really proud of it, but nobody gives a fuck about that. They wanna hear what you have to say and what you feel. So I'm gonna go on mute. Anybody who wants to chime in, now is your time.
Okay, so I listened to the episode twice, and I had to ask myself, I was like, why were so many moments cringy for me? Because I think Shan did such a beautiful job of like navigating, but there was a lot of moments where my whole body like actually tensed up, and I was like, oh.
I too had a pretty strong visceral like body reaction to some of the things that were being expressed in the beginning, like in some aspects, he expresses like a high level of emotional maturity and understanding that intimacy goes beyond the bedroom and like even how you talk to someone or approach your date, but then also admitting how he has used that, you know, in not so positive ways.
So I think that in jumping in on what Denise said, that's something that was fascinating because he had mentioned that it is important for people to listen to each other, like men to express how they're feeling and feel not judged. And I think in pushing through the episode, I felt that statement because, like many others, I had some visceral reactions to some of the things that were said, especially involving unlocking people, and it sounding at first like a game. And hearing that, I think, confirmed is kind of like, I think anyone who's ever been attracted to men in their life's nightmare come true. But I think towards the end and pushing through it, it was like, I see how all these little webs have connected to form who you were and who you're trying to be. So I think that's a very valuable thing I learned at the end of watching the episode.
I want to ask everyone about that visceral reaction part because I actually feel very differently when I hear someone express something that I'm like, oh, it's almost as if I'm here. Because you know when you're going through something with a romantic partner and you're just like, why? Why is it like this? Why are you acting this way? And then to have somebody who you're not intimately connected with, but almost represent what you wish that person said, the kind of honesty that you wish they said, in some ways it feels healing to me because it doesn't feel as personal.
That's on some ultimate F-boy stuff when you're saying that you're a magician and you're taking the energy of a woman and you like the comfort, the security, like the intimacy of a woman, the essence of a woman, and playing that and using that. But for him to acknowledge that, to see that, and to grow from that, that is like, oh my God, that is emotional intelligence and just awareness on another level. For me, like I also listened to it twice as well. The first time I was like, whoa, wait a minute. But you know, because I also am like waiting to hear for that growth part. I mean, I think he in being aware that speaks to his growth, but I wanted to see more of like where he is now. But I don't know about visceral, but to me it was like, oh, this is the type of man that I want to go, like emotionally awareness from a man. That's turn on for me.
This episode is sponsored by Arya, your intimacy concierge, because who says that long-term relationships have to become predictable? Arya is a service for couples that makes it possible for them to continue to reimagine their relationship, become great lovers, more romantic, and maybe even kinkier. You'll get access to the Arya concierge, who's like your relationship's wingman, a real person who feels out your vibes, serves up spicy monthly experiences for the two of you. Plus, they handpick premium items to deliver discreetly to your door, so you don't have to leave the bed. Not only have I been a longtime Arya member, because yes, even sex experts need help going from been there, done that to whoa, let's try that again. I'm also their chief intimacy officer, and I'm so proud to announce that my first curated scene, Undercover, is now available. Have you ever fantasized about recapturing the spark of the first time you met your partner? Or maybe you want to make it hotter than history. Undercover lets you go there. So go over to arya.fyi/Shan right now to take a free quiz to find out your erotic persona. Then get ready to connect and play. Something that he did say that stuck with me is that if ever it was on him now to share, that's when he would shut down and run away. So I think a huge telltale sign whether or not somebody is legitimately able to offer a safe space or legitimately emotionally intelligent is it mutual? He was so obsessed with the mystery and maintaining the mystique or the image of perfection that's when he would shut down and run away.
I can speak on a little bit his mother wounds and specifically having a parent who is a recovering addict or was an addict. It just automatically makes any connection that you or that I build feel like, how can I keep myself in a way where if I have to get out of it quickly, I can. So there was a portion in the video where he said, oh, I can see myself being with one person for a long time, but not marrying them. And Shan, you were trying to, you said something, but you weren't able to talk about it in that moment. It's interesting because I feel like having had addicted parents, that is kind of how you live your life and you go through things where you're like, oh, I'm always going to make sure that if I need to pivot, I can pivot very quickly. Because
it wasn't exactly clear, the connection. I know there was a mother wound, and even I believe one of our community members in the chat kind of expressed similarly, like there was kind of touching a little bit on like what the mother wound was, but it left the viewer wanting to know a little bit more, and perhaps in just like honoring our family and our parents and just the platform, maybe there was some reservations in sharing that. But even you talking about your experience just now, like how that statement about, you know, what he said about marriage resonated, and just like the hesitancy of like the uncertainty, like, is this circumstance going to change? You know, when you're dealing with parents that are dealing with addiction, there is that uncertainty. That really clicked for me. So thank you for sharing that. And Shan, I can't remember specifically what the quote was that you mentioned it, and Mara was like, oh, are we going there? It's in terms of the way sometimes maybe in the Black community that men some of the feelings of anger and frustration that they have towards their moms and how it impacts how they date other people. And sometimes, granted, I don't know Mario's the relationship dynamic with his mom, like if they were married or if his parents were married. But I would say like kind of on social media, there a little bit of a hot topic is how like there's just a sense of anger, and I would like to know a little bit more about why that is. And maybe it's not too relevant to his story, but that's something that is confusing to me when I see that narrative online, um, that I would have loved to know more about.
It's clear that there was a turning point, but I think I would want to know what was the turning point, when was the turning point. I think the result of the turning point was very clear, but that was the one portion that I wish I could understand more. What was the turning point, and how did that process happen, and if he sought resources or sought people, who were they?
I think this conversation, in terms of just like what I would take away and share, I think that sometimes like hearing a male's perspective on maybe how they previously approached dating in the past and how they have now like turned a new leaf, it can help with like empathizing with the experience and just sometimes like kind of what Shan mentioned earlier, like providing clarity is like I had all these maybe unanswered questions with people I've dated in the past or people who maybe have operated similarly, and I've maybe have wondered why did they do that, and it just allows to have a different perspective that I wouldn't otherwise be able to get because he is so emotionally intelligent, and his ability to share that his awareness and how he was operating before, like that's useful information, that I would probably share with my community.
Lovers, thank you so much for tuning into this episode. If you are turned on right now, not necessarily physically, but mentally, I mean, if it's physically too, I'll take that. I highly suggest that you head to loversbyshan.com. That is a one-stop shop to learn more about the podcast, about the Lovers community, my newsletter, and also to get some resources, some quizzes, and some activities that are from me to you to make your intimate life as incredible as you deserve.